Welcome to the Unofficial Review. I'm Seeds, and this is my football review. So today we'll be talking about officiating. It's one of the biggest things that I've been discussing in the offseason and just coming into this, and kind of what I want to talk about in this show is pretty much keep that in check at best. So one of the biggest things I want to talk about in this one is going to be some of the rule changes. That's one of the things that we'll go back and forth and talk about specific games with which bad officiating has been used to manipulate the game. But right now I'm going to talk about certain rule changes and what the NFL's agenda is with those rule changes. The first one I want to talk about is this no arguing the refs. I find it kind of interesting because what's the deal? Why don't you want these players to be questioning your guys' integrity on the field? Just because it's not like I've heard of epidemic delays of players arguing with the football officials. So why would you have this suddenly removed where you can actually penalize and hurt them if they question your integrity? Especially when said integrity has been questioned time and again by both fans, teams, players, coaches. Everyone questions the officials and why they do what they do. And so when you don't want them to do that, when you're changing them, essentially strong-arming them, why? Is it because you have an agenda and you want the least amount of attraction towards that said agenda? I'm thinking so. I mean, it's the only thing that really makes sense. Like I said, it's not like they've got a top, it's to the point where they're actually keeping track of how much time is delayed because of a player's arguing. So again, if you're feeling the need to alter it from its current existence, what's the benefit? Other than, again, like I said, you just don't want to question what you guys are really up to. And so that's, again, why make this change? And another big part of it too is you guys have a headquarters for officiating, for replays, to make sure that these bad calls don't happen, yet they continue to. So again, it seems like you're more or less trying to look like you're handling things, look like you're trying to have the best call called, but you're still going about business the same. So it's kind of like you're doing a Pontius Pilate where you're wiping your hands clean and essentially not trying to take responsibility for what you guys are in fact doing. And that kind of say, and that's a big thing too, is that one of my biggest issues is so you're not allowing the players to question your integrity, and you've limited the coaches to 2, maybe 3 challenges throughout the entire game. I don't know about you, but I've seen plenty of bad calls time and again, and 2 or 3 to where you're letting bad calls slide because you don't know if you need to pull that at the end and challenge something that could be more significant. So that's the thing too, is to me, the best team needs to win. I would not limit teams to that few or coaches that few challenges. With the amount of bad calls you see time and again, I think that needs to increase dramatically so that the correct call gets called, not that a team gets a break because a coach runs out of challenges or because they're limited to the challenges, so they're not going to risk that use. So that, again, it's one of those things where to me the best team needs to win, and it shouldn't be because of technicality, because he didn't feel that he should use up and potentially waste his challenge. So again, just let's do what makes sense. That's my biggest thing about it all. Let's implement the rule why it was existent, why it was created, not because of the technicality or this or that. We need to, again, like I said, increase the amount of times that coaches can challenge bad calls, because the right call should be called, not because of any gray areas. And that again goes to the next one as far as the rule change, which was the taunting rule. I'm not a huge fan of taunting. I think that you need to act like you've been there. I think you need to let your actions speak for themselves. But for us to expect that all these teams and all these players in the heat of the battle aren't going to lose their cool, or they're going to feel a little kind of like pushing a guy to let him know he bested him, especially when the talking's going on, the back and forth, the jaw working. So it's like, it's just natural for somebody to just cross the line a little bit, get a little more intense with what they're saying, especially if they're behind the 8 ball, especially if they've been having to eat it all day. They need something where they can put their chest out and let them know what's up, and just get competitive and feed into that and embrace the fact of what they're in, which is a battle. You're not going to tell guys who are in the heat of battle on the battlefield to watch what they say and don't make them feel bad. We're grown adults playing a grown adult sport. It makes sense to exert yourself, to let yourself go. That being said, I don't agree at all with excessive taunting. I don't think that, and there is a certain point where I think most people would agree that is extremely unsportsmanlike to a certain degree. But I think it needs to be within reason. I mean, I think that, flipping the ball towards a guy or kind of getting his face a little bit after you make a big play is completely normal. So for us to expect them to behave like they're going to grade school or they're living a separate life than they really are is asinine. It's just absurd to think that we're essentially putting them in a rink or putting them on a field, tens of thousands of people screaming, millions of people watching, and they're going toe to toe, and we expect them to act like Boy Scouts. It's kind of absurd, again. And then the other thing too that got me I shouldn't have been shocked at all. I mean, it was kind of nice because it showed the NFL for what they really were. This last week with Odell Beckham going against Xavier Rhodes. You saw what happened. He lost his freaking cool, and the great thing about it was Odell Beckham was one of the two guys, him and Josh Norman, because of the clash they had last year, they created this rule to try to keep guys in check and make them not lose their cool and essentially behave on this walk in the narrow pathway. And lo and behold, what happens? Odell Beckham gets one warning. He gets that first one. The second one, you're out. Guess what happens? The second one comes along. Everyone watching, the analyst called out and said, hey, you should get uncalled again. He goes up and commits a very aggressive pass interference before he gets a catch, and they're like, what was that? You didn't, he just did it again. He just got to that guy's face and mauled his face. But why wasn't the second call called? Why wasn't he ejected? Because it bit him in the ass, the officials that is, it bit the NFL in the ass, because, well, look now, you have to kick out one of your superstar players that makes you guys money. What are you going to do? Oh, wait, you're going to look the other way and you're going to let them make you more money. So you don't give a shit about this rule, about what's actually happening. Again, you're just washing your hands clean. No, we dealt with that. We put a rule in place. They even ejected a guy on that Giants team, but it was some offensive lineman. He's not going to make us any more money from a big name Hollywood standpoint. So again, they almost kind of used him as an example. Oh yeah, we're going to eject guys if they cross that line. But the very guy who you created this rule because of does it. And again, oh, whoops, I didn't say that. What are you talking about? And so again, it's just one of those things where if you're going to make a rule and you're going to try to implement that rule to actually try to show your integrity, might it be best if you actually implement it when it happens to the guy who created it? It would be much more justifiable, much more credible on the NFL's part. But as I have discussed, yes, their true colors were shown. And it was kind of ironic that it was this early, and who, again, pointed that out to us, that the NFL is not going to necessarily implement the rules consistently, specifically with superstar names. They're going to go back to their ways of looking at the bank account and seeing how that's going to be influenced with what they do, and question, or not question, but have that compromise their integrity of the rules in place that they've put in there to make sure that it's a gentleman's game and so forth. And so, yes, again, it's just one of those things where, if there isn't anything to what I'm saying, then why does it keep happening? Why is it that when Odell Beckham does the very thing that should have caused him to be ejected at in the heat of the battle, so to speak, the refs and the NFL show them what their true colors are, and they just care about money. But anyhow, so next time we'll be talking about specific games and how those games were influenced with bad calls and why that was.